The quantum communicator crackled to life in the heart of the Valthron Empire's capital ship. Admiral Corvex stared at the incoming transmission with mild curiosity. Messages from unknown species were rare but not unheard of. Most civilizations tried to bargain when they first detected the Empire's approach. Some offered tribute, others begged for mercy. All eventually fell. This message was different. Captain Jinwoo's face appeared on the holographic display. His expression was calm, almost bored. Behind him, the bridge of what appeared to be a primitive human vessel hummed with basic technology. The alien admiral could see crude control panels and simple displays that looked centuries behind Valthron. Standards? "This is Earth," Jinwoo said in perfect Valthron. The fact that humans had learned their language was mildly impressive. "We know you're there. We know what you've done to other worlds. Stay away." The transmission ended. Silence filled the command bridge. Several junior officers exchanged glances. Admiral Corvex's mandibles clicked in what passed for laughter among his species. Emperor Valthek's image appeared on the main screen, his golden scales gleaming with amusement. "Did that primitive just threaten us?" the Emperor asked. "It appears so, Your Excellence," Corvex replied. "The species calls itself human. They inhabit a system they call Sol. Initial scans show they have barely achieved faster-than-light travel." "Show me their fleet," Valthek commanded. The display changed to show long-range sensor data. 12 ships hung in the darkness at the edge of human space. They were crude things, obviously built for function rather than beauty. Thick armor, plating covered fusion reactors that burned inefficiently. Their weapons appeared to be simple projectile cannons and basic energy beams. 12 ships, Corvex noted, against our 200-vessel First Fleet. Their largest vessel is perhaps 1/10 the size of our smallest destroyer. Emperor Valthek's laugh echoed through the bridge. "And they warn us to stay away? What delightful arrogance! I almost admire it." "Shall I prepare the standard subjugation protocol?" Corvex asked. "By all means. But first, let's learn more about these humans. I'm curious about any species bold enough to threaten the Empire." Far from the Valthron fleet, on a small moon orbiting the planet humans called Jupiter, Admiral Hyejin watched the same transmission from a very different perspective. Around her, the hidden command center buzzed with activity. Dozens of technicians monitored screens showing ship movements across 3 star systems. "They took the bait," reported Commander Soman from her tactical station. "Long-range sensors show the Valthron fleet is moving toward the decoy ships." Hyejin nodded. The 12 vessels the aliens had detected were exactly what they were supposed to find. Old cargo haulers fitted with fake weapon signatures and basic shields. Ships that would register on alien sensors as humanity's best attempt at a war fleet. "Any response to Jinwoo's message?" she asked. "Increased scanning activity. They're cataloging our apparent technology level," Soman replied. "Dr. Taehyun's sensor spoofing is working perfectly. They think our fusion reactors are running at 60% of actual efficiency. And our weapons? Reading as primitive projectile systems. They have no idea about the plasma cores or the gravity manipulators." Hyejin smiled grimly. Humanity had been preparing for this moment for 200 years. Ever since the first human scout ship had witnessed the destruction of the Corvani homeworld, Earth's governments had united around a single purpose. When the Empire came for them, they would be ready. Dr. Taehyun looked up from his science station. His team had spent decades studying captured Valthron technology. Every crashed probe, every abandoned sensor buoy, every piece of alien debris that drifted into human space had been analyzed and reverse-engineered. "The quantum communicator is working perfectly," he reported. "We're now connected to their entire military network. Every ship movement, every tactical discussion, every strategic plan is being recorded." "How long until they arrive?" Hyejin asked. 3 months at their current speed," Somin calculated. "They're bringing the first fleet, 200 ships including planet crackers and orbital bombardment platforms." More than enough to destroy a primitive civilization, Hyejin noted. Good. We want them confident. Across the solar system, other preparations continued. On Mars, massive shipyards worked around the clock in underground facilities. The red planet's surface looked barren and undeveloped to alien sensors. But beneath the dust lay the largest military construction project in human history. Colonel Min-sok supervised the final preparations of the Phoenix fleet. These were humanity's real warships, invisible to alien sensors when powered down. Each vessel incorporated the best of human engineering combined with carefully adapted alien technology. They could rebuild themselves from near-total destruction using advanced nanite swarms. "How many ships are ready?" asked Captain Airy during her inspection tour. 400 in the first wave, Min-sok replied. 800 more in reserve, each one designed to appear destroyed while actually learning and adapting. And the infiltration teams? Agent Dongwu reports from the Vielthran capital. All deep-cover operatives are in position across their 17 worlds. Some have been there for 15 years. The Empire's intelligence was impressive but not perfect. Humans looked enough like several other species that genetic modification and careful surgery could create convincing disguises. For decades, human agents had worked their way into alien society, gathering intelligence and preparing for this moment. Back on the Valthron flagship, Emperor Valthek reviewed reports from his intelligence division. The human homeworld showed all the signs of a typical pre-conquest civilization. Large cities with obvious industrial centers, a single moon that appeared to be used for mining operations. No sign of advanced defensive networks or hidden military installations. "They do seem unusually bold for such a primitive species," noted Intelligence Chief Vorthak. "Our xenopsychology experts suggest they may have an unusually aggressive culture." "Many species fight when cornered," Valthek replied. "It matters little. Courage cannot overcome such a vast technological gap." Admiral Korvex agreed. In 500 years of conquest, the Empire had never met serious resistance. Species fell into predictable patterns. First came denial that the Empire could be so powerful, then desperate attempts at negotiation. Finally, either submission or obliteration. "Begin." "The approach," Valthek ordered. "Standard formation. Let them see our strength and perhaps they will surrender without forcing us to waste ammunition." The First Fleet changed course toward the Sol system. 200 ships of various sizes, from nimble destroyers to massive dreadnoughts capable of cracking planets. At their heart flew the flagship Dominator, its hull bearing the scars of 1,000 victories. On Luna Station, Captain Jinwoo received the final briefing from Admiral Hyejin. His role in the coming battle was perhaps the most dangerous. He would command the decoy fleet, the ships designed to be destroyed in the opening engagement. "Remember," Hyejin said, "your job is to make them confident. Fight hard enough to seem real, but lose convincingly. Make them think they understand our capabilities. And if they demand surrender? Refuse. Humans don't surrender. Let them think it's pride or stupidity. The truth will become clear soon enough." Jinwoo nodded and returned to his ship. The vessel was genuinely primitive by human standards, barely better than the cargo haulers they had converted for this deception. But it would serve its purpose. Across human space, final preparations completed. Weapons powered up in hidden installations. Ships moved into position in the darkness between worlds. Infiltration teams received their final orders. The Vielthran Empire approached Earth with overwhelming confidence. They had no idea they were flying into the most carefully prepared trap in galactic history. Humanity had been warned of their coming 2 centuries ago. Now the Empire would learn what happened when Earth was given time to prepare. The warning had been ignored. Soon the consequences would begin. The Vaelthron First Fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Sol system like a swarm of metal predators. 200 warships arranged themselves in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming with the dark energy of charged weapons systems. At their center, the massive flagship Dominator cast a shadow across space that could eclipse a small moon. Admiral Korvex stood on his command bridge, studying the primitive solar system spread before him. The third planet from the star glowed blue and green, obviously teeming with life. Orbital installations surrounded it, but they appeared to be simple communication satellites and basic research stations. Nothing that could threaten even his smallest escort vessel. "Scan complete," reported his tactical officer. "We detect 12 military vessels positioned between the 4th and 5th planets. They match the signatures from our previous observations." "Only 12?" Korvex asked. "Perhaps they are hoping we will mistake their weakness for strategy." Emperor Valthek's hologram flickered to life beside the Admiral. Even transmitted across space, his presence dominated the bridge. "Open a channel to their homeworld. Let us offer them the standard terms." The communication beam lanced toward Earth. Within moments, Captain Jinwoo's face appeared on their screens. He sat calmly in what was obviously the bridge of one of the primitive human vessels. Behind him, crew members worked at control panels that looked like museum pieces compared to Vilethron technology. "This is Admiral Korvex of the Vilethron Empire," the alien commander announced. "You will surrender immediately and accept Imperial rule. Your planet will be strip-mined for resources. Your population will be relocated to serve the Empire. Resistance will result in complete extinction." Jinwoo listened without expression. When the alien finished speaking, the human captain leaned back in his chair and smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. "We gave you a chance," he said quietly. "You should have listened." The transmission ended. Emperor Valthek's scales darkened with anger. "Destroy them!" The battle began exactly as humanity had planned. The 12 human vessels emerged from their positions near the asteroid belt, their crude engines burning bright as they accelerated toward the massive alien fleet. They were hopelessly outnumbered and outgunned, but they came anyway. "Look at them," laughed one of Korvex's officers. "They actually think they can fight us." The first exchange of fire was devastating. Velthran plasma cannons reached across space with deadly accuracy. Human ships exploded in brilliant flashes as their primitive armor was overwhelmed by superior firepower. Within minutes, 3 vessels had been reduced to expanding clouds of debris, but the remaining human ships kept coming. Their weapons fired back, primitive projectile cannons that seemed to barely scratch Velthran's shields, energy beams that couldn't penetrate alien armor plating. It was exactly what the Empire expected from a species that had barely learned to travel between stars. "Their weapons are even weaker than our estimates suggested," noted the tactical officer. "This will be over within the hour." Admiral Korvex nodded with satisfaction. Another quick victory to add to the Empire's long list of conquests. Perhaps they could finish here and move on to the next system before the day ended. The battle continued its predictable course. One by one, human ships fell to Valthran firepower. Their crude vessels simply couldn't withstand the advanced weapons of a galactic empire. By the time 2 hours had passed, only 3 human ships remained active. Captain Jinwoo's vessel was among the survivors, its hull scarred by plasma burns but still fighting. The human captain's voice crackled across the communication channels as he coordinated his remaining forces. "All ships concentrate fire on their lead destroyer," he ordered. "Make them pay for every meter." It was admirable in its futility. The 3 remaining human vessels focused their weak weapons on a single Valthran ship. Their combined firepower barely registered on its shields. The destroyer's return volley vaporized 2 of them instantly. Only Jinwoo's ship remained. "Surrender. Now," Admiral Korvex broadcast, "and your death will be quick." "Humans don't surrender," Jinwoo replied. His ship charged straight at the Velthron flagship, all weapons firing. It was a brave but pointless gesture. The Dominator's main cannon charged for barely a second before releasing a graviton beam that tore the human vessel apart at the molecular level. Silence fell across the battlefield. The human fleet was completely destroyed. Debris drifted where 12 ships had fought and died against impossible odds. It was exactly the outcome everyone had expected. Admiral Corvex turned to his communications officer. "Broadcast the victory to the Empire. Another primitive species has learned the price of defying us. Now prepare for planetary bombardment." "Admiral," the tactical officer called out, confusion clear in his voice. "I'm reading something strange." "What kind of strange?" "The debris field. It's moving. No, not moving. Changing." On the main display, the scattered remains of the human fleet began to shift. Pieces of hull plating drifted together. Fragments of destroyed engines sparked back to life. What had been twisted wreckage moments before started to reform into recognizable shapes. "Impossible," whispered Emperor Valthek. The destroyed human ships were rebuilding themselves, but not just rebuilding. As the alien officers watched in growing horror, the reformed vessels emerged stronger than before. Their hulls gleamed with improved armor. Their weapons had been upgraded with technology that looked suspiciously familiar. "They're using our own weapon signatures," the tactical officer reported, voice rising with panic. "Those ships are incorporating our plasma cannon technology." Captain Jinwoo's voice echoed across the communication channels, calm and steady, despite the fact that his ship had been vaporized minutes earlier. "You wanted to see what humans are capable of. Allow us to demonstrate." The reformed human fleet opened fire. But these were no longer the primitive weapons that had barely scratched Valthran shields. Plasma beams identical to their own tore into the alien formation. Energy weapons that matched Imperial specifications carved through armor that was supposed to be impenetrable. "How is this possible?" Emperor Valthek demanded. Colonel Minsok answered from his position aboard one of the reborn vessels. His face appeared on their screens, surrounded by technology that definitely had not been there during the first engagement. "Did you really think 12 ships were humanity's entire fleet?" he asked. "Those weren't warships. They were learning platforms. Every shot you fired taught us more about your technology. Every weapon you used gave us new data to incorporate. More contacts appeared on Valthran sensors. Ships that had been invisible moments before powered up throughout the solar system. They emerged from behind asteroids, from the shadows of moons, from positions that should have been empty space. Hundreds of vessels that registered as far more advanced than anything the Empire had faced. "Phoenix Fleet, this is Admiral Heejin," came a new voice. "You are cleared to engage." The real battle began. Human ships that had seemed primitive revealed their true nature. Advanced stealth systems deactivated to show vessels incorporating the best of human engineering and carefully studied alien technology. Weapons that had appeared crude unleashed devastation that made Valthran plasma cannons look like toys. "Impossible," Admiral Corvex repeated as his sensors registered the approaching fleet. "Our intelligence said they were primitive. Our scans confirmed it." "Your intelligence was what we wanted you to see," Captain Airy explained from her command ship. "For 200 years, humanity has been preparing for this moment. We've studied every battle you've fought, every weapon you've used, every tactic you've employed. We know you better than you know yourselves." The Valthran formation began to buckle under the human assault. Ships that had never known defeat found themselves outgunned by vessels that incorporated their own technology against them. The Phoenix Fleet fought with a coordination that spoke of decades of preparation and planning. "Retreat," Emperor Valthek ordered, his confidence shattered. "Fall back to the outer system." "Negative," Admiral Hyajin's voice cut across their communications. "You came here to conquer. Now you'll learn why that was a mistake." The First Fleet, pride of the Valthran Empire, found itself trapped in a system that had become a carefully prepared killing ground. Every asteroid had been weaponized. Every moon hid defensive installations. Even the gas giant's rings contained automated weapons platforms. The Empire had come to Earth expecting an easy victory. Instead, they had walked into humanity's masterpiece of preparation and strategy. The species they had dismissed as primitive was about to teach them a lesson that would echo across the galaxy. Admiral Corvex stared at his tactical display as red warnings covered every screen. For the first time in 500 years of conquest, the Valthron Empire faced the possibility of defeat. The humans had been right. The Empire should have listened to their warning. Admiral Corvex watched his tactical display with growing horror as more red contacts appeared around his fleet. What should have been a simple conquest had become a nightmare of impossible proportions. Human ships that had been destroyed were fighting again, stronger than before. Vessels that shouldn't exist were emerging from every shadow in the solar system. "How many ships do they have?" he demanded. "Sensors are reading over 400 active contacts," his tactical officer reported, voice shaking. "All of them using technology signatures that match or exceed our own." Emperor Valthek's hologram flickered with interference as human jamming systems began to disrupt their communications. "This is impossible. Our scouts reported a primitive civilization. Our intelligence confirmed it." A new transmission cut across their channels. The face that appeared on their screens belonged to Dr. Tae-hyun, standing in what was obviously a massive command center. Behind him, holographic displays showed detailed maps of the entire Valthron Empire. Every world, every fleet position, every military installation was marked with perfect accuracy. "You want to know our secret?" Dr. Tae-hyun said calmly. "We learned from watching you." The display behind him changed to show a timeline stretching back 2 centuries. Video footage began playing of Valthran ships attacking defenseless worlds. The crystalline cities of Corvani burning under plasma bombardment. Deltharic ocean worlds being drained for their resources. 17 different civilizations falling to imperial conquest. Every world you destroyed, every species you enslaved, we recorded it all, the human scientist continued. For 200 years, humanity has been preparing for you. Admiral Corvex felt his blood chill. That's impossible. Our sensors never detected any human presence during those campaigns. Your sensors never detected us because we didn't want to be detected, Dr. Tae-hyun replied. Did you really think Earth was isolated? We've been watching your expansion since before your empire reached its current size. The holographic display showed new information that made several Valthran officers gasp in shock. Human scout ships, barely larger than fighters, positioned in asteroid fields and debris zones around conquered worlds. Tiny vessels using advanced stealth technology that made them invisible to Imperial sensors. "We watched you burn Corvani Prime," Dr. Tae-hyun said, his voice growing colder. "We recorded the genocide of the crystalline beings who had offered you peaceful trade. We documented how you turned their children into decorative objects for your palace walls." Images flashed across the screen that made even hardened Valthran warriors look away. The Empire's conquest of the galaxy had not been gentle. "We observed the enslavement of the Deltharans," the human continued. "Ocean dwellers forced to work in your dry mines until their gills collapsed. Entire generations dying of thirst while you stripped their homeworld of water." General Young-ho appeared on another channel, broadcasting from what looked like a military command center built inside a hollowed-out asteroid. "Every tactic you used, we studied. Every weapon you deployed, we analyzed. Every weakness you showed, we cataloged." The revelation continued to unfold. Mars, which had appeared to be a barren world suitable only for basic mining, revealed its true nature. The planet's surface split open to reveal massive underground shipyards. Hundreds of vessels emerged from hidden launch bays, their hulls gleaming with advanced armor and weapons. The asteroid belt wasn't just mined for resources, General Young-ho explained. Every significant rock has been converted into a weapons platform. Your fleet is currently surrounded by 3,000 automated defense systems. As if to demonstrate his point, the nearby asteroids began to glow with charging energy weapons. The space around the Valthron fleet filled with targeting beams as thousands of hidden installations locked onto their ships. But the worst revelation was yet to come. Captain Aries' voice cut across their communications from her command ship. We didn't just watch from a distance. We infiltrated your society. New images appeared on their screens. Valthran citizens going about their daily lives in the Empire's 17 star systems. Workers in factories, clerks in government offices, even guards in military installations. But as the humans enhanced the images, subtle differences became visible. Genetic modifications that allowed humans to pass as various alien species. Surgical alterations that fooled even close inspection. Agent Dongwu has been working in your capital's central administration for 15 years, Captain Airy revealed. Agent Kyung-hee serves as a personal aide to your emperor. Hundreds of our people have spent decades becoming part of your society. Admiral Corvex felt the deck plates vibrate under his feet as human weapons began to test his ship's shields. How many of our people are actually yours? Enough, came the simple reply. Commander Somin appeared on yet another channel, her image, broadcasting from a room filled with tactical displays showing all 17 Imperial worlds. Every military base has been mapped. Every research facility has been compromised. Every government building has our people inside it. The implications hit the Valthran command staff like physical blows. Their empire wasn't just facing an external threat. It had been infiltrated at every level for decades. Humans had been watching, learning, and preparing from within their own society. You're not fighting a primitive species, Commander Somin continued. You're fighting a civilization that has spent 2 centuries studying your every move, learning your weaknesses, and preparing for this exact moment. Dr. Taehyun's transmission resumed, showing technical specifications that made the alien engineers gasp. We reverse-engineered every piece of your technology that we could acquire. Crashed probes, abandoned sensor buoys, damaged ships left behind after battles. We studied it all and improved upon it. The human ships surrounding the Valthran fleet demonstrated this improvement. Plasma cannons that fired faster and hit harder than Imperial versions. Shield generators that deflected attacks that should have been devastating. Armor plating that seemed to absorb energy rather than simply resist it. Your graviton bombs are impressive, Dr. Taehyun noted. But ours are better. Would you like a demonstration? A human vessel that appeared no larger than a Valthran escort frigate fired a single projectile toward an uninhabited moon. The weapon struck the lunar surface and the entire celestial body simply ceased. Not destroyed or vaporized, but erased from existence as if it had never been there. Emperor Valthek's image flickered back onto their screens, his golden scales now pale with shock. What do you want? Admiral Hyejin answered from her command position. We want you to leave. We want you to return to your conquered worlds and free every enslaved species. We want you to surrender your weapons of mass destruction and submit to galactic justice for your crimes. And if we refuse, then you'll discover what happens when Earth is given 200 years to prepare for war. The human fleet began to move with coordination that spoke of perfect planning. Ships that had seemed scattered arranged themselves into formations that maximized their firepower while minimizing their exposure to return fire. The Phoenix fleet, vessels that could be destroyed and reborn stronger, took point positions where they could absorb enemy fire and learn from it. This is Admiral Corvex to all Imperial forces, the alien commander broadcast. We are facing an enemy that has prepared for this battle longer than some of our worlds have been conquered. They know our technology better than we do. They have infiltrated our society at every level. He paused, looking at displays showing the impossible scope of human preparation. We are not the hunters here. We never were. From the moment we detected their first transmission, We have been the prey. The Valthron First Fleet, pride of an empire that had never known defeat, found itself completely outmatched by a species they had dismissed as primitive. Every advantage they had counted on was neutralized. Every weapon they trusted had been studied and countered. In the depths of space around Earth, humanity revealed the full scope of their preparation. This was not just a battle between fleets. It was the culmination of 2 centuries of patient planning, careful observation, and methodical preparation. The Empire had come to conquer Earth. Instead, they had discovered that Earth had been preparing to liberate the galaxy. The warning had been ignored. Now the consequences would spread far beyond this single star system. While the Valthran First Fleet struggled against Earth's impossible defenses, Commander Soman activated the signal that 17 star systems had been waiting for. Across the galaxy, human agents who had spent decades in deep cover received the same simple message. Chains break. On Vielthros Prime, the Empire's capital world, Agent Dongwu sat at his desk in the Central Administrative Complex, where he had worked as a minor bureaucrat for 15 years. His Vielthran colleagues knew him as a quiet, efficient worker who processed resource allocation reports without complaint. They had no idea that every document he handled was copied and transmitted to Earth through quantum channels. When the signal came, Dongwu calmly finished typing his current report, saved it to the system, and activated the device hidden in his desk drawer. Across the capital city, hundreds of other human agents did the same. The power grid of Valthros Prime died instantly, not from external attack but from within. Human-designed viruses that had been planted in the system years earlier suddenly activated, overloading generators and fusing control circuits. The planet's orbital defense platforms, suddenly without power, went dark one by one. "What's happening?" demanded Defense Coordinator Thelvac as his command center plunged into emergency lighting. "Report!" "Unknown systems failure across all networks," his technician replied, panic creeping into his voice. "Every major installation is going offline simultaneously." "That's impossible. Our security systems would have detected any outside interference." Agent Kyung-hee stepped out of the shadows near the Emperor's personal quarters, where she had served as a trusted aide for 8 years. Her genetic modifications fell away like a mask as she resumed her true human appearance. The weapon in her hand was unmistakably of human design. "It wasn't outside interference," she said calmly. "We've been here all along. Across 17 worlds, the pattern repeated. Communication networks that had carried imperial orders for centuries suddenly turned against their creators. Orbital weapons platforms rotated to target the planets they were supposed to protect. Military bases found their own security systems, locking them inside their bunkers. Captain Sunho led the First Liberation Fleet as it dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Corvani system. These were not the crude vessels the Valthrans had initially detected near Earth. These ships were sleek predators incorporating the best of human engineering with carefully adapted alien technology. "Sensors show the Imperial garrison is in complete disarray," reported his tactical officer. "Their orbital platforms are firing on each other." "Agent Minje's work," Sunho noted with satisfaction. "Signal the Corvani resistance. Tell them the IEA liberation has begun." Deep beneath the surface of what had once been Corvani Prime, crystalline beings emerged from hidden chambers where they had survived 3 centuries of apparent extinction. The Empire had thought them completely destroyed, their beautiful crystal cities reduced to decorative elements in Valthran palaces. They had been wrong. "This is Resonance Leader Kyle," came the transmission in musical tones that had not been heard on this world for generations. "We have been waiting for this moment. Our children are ready to reclaim what was stolen." The Corvani that emerged from their hidden refuges were not the peaceful crystal gardeners the Empire remembered. These were warriors hardened by centuries of hiding, trained by human advisors who had spent decades teaching them everything about their oppressors. They carried weapons designed specifically to shatter Valthran armor and disrupt alien shield systems. Liberation Force Alpha, this is. Captain Hyawan, came another transmission from the edge of the Deltharic system. We're detecting massive seismic activity on the ocean worlds. The Deltharans had been enslaved to work in dry mines after their homeworlds were stripped of water. The Empire believed them broken, their aquatic culture destroyed forever. But the humans had been busy here too. Atmospheric processors of human design had been secretly installed in the depths of Deltharic space. When the signal came, they activated simultaneously, transforming the thin atmospheres of the water-stripped worlds. Moisture condensed from gases that Valthran scientists had declared permanently depleted. Oceans began to form again in a matter of hours rather than centuries. "By the depths," whispered Tidesinger Jisoo, her gills fluttering with emotion as she breathed water for the first time in 50 years. The ancient currents flow again. The Deltharans who emerged from their underwater resistance cells were not the broken slaves the Empire had created. They were an aquatic military force that had spent generations planning for this moment. Their bioships, grown rather than built, rose from the newly formed oceans to challenge the Valthran garrison. Admiral Hyajin coordinated the campaign from Earth, where the First Fleet still struggled against humanity's impossible defenses. Every hour brought reports of another Imperial stronghold falling, another enslaved species rising with human support. "Corvani system secured," reported Captain Sunho. "The crystalline cities are already beginning to regrow. Their construction rate is far faster than our estimates suggested. Deltharic resistance reports complete success," added Captain Hyawan. "Their bioships are adapting our weapon designs at the genetic level. Each generation of vessels is stronger than the last." "What about the Outer Rim worlds?" Admiral Hyejin asked. Commander Somin answered from her tactical station, which now displayed the status of all 17 Imperial systems. "Agent Jihoon has successfully compromised the automated mining platforms in the Zerion system. The robotic extractors are now building liberation ships instead of processing ore. The Threxians in the Nebulon cluster have activated their sleeper cells," added Captain Airy. "Turns out they weren't as extinct as the Empire believed either." Emperor Valthek, monitoring the reports from his flagship still trapped in the Sol system, watched his empire crumble in real time. Every world that had taken decades to conquer was falling in a matter of hours. Every supposedly extinct species was revealing that they had merely been hiding, waiting, preparing. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "Our intelligence networks are the best in the galaxy. We would have detected such widespread resistance." "Your intelligence networks were compromised from the beginning," Admiral Hyejin explained, her image appearing on his screens. "Every report you received about extinct species was exactly what we wanted you to hear. Every survey that showed broken populations was carefully crafted disinformation." Dr. Tae-hyun joined the transmission from his science station. "Did you really think you could genocide entire civilizations without someone noticing? We've been in contact with resistance groups across the galaxy for 200 years. Every species you thought you had destroyed was actually in hiding, protected by human technology and supplied with human resources." The scope of the deception was staggering. For 2 centuries, while the Empire had celebrated its total domination of the galaxy, its victims had been secretly organizing. Hidden populations had grown in strength. Resistance movements had shared. Technology and tactics, all coordinated by human agents who had infiltrated every level of Imperial society. The Vorthak Collective reports successful uprising on 7 worlds, Commander Somin announced. The Silicon Mines have reactivated their ancient defense networks. The plasma wraiths are emerging from the stellar coronas where they've been hiding. Species after species that the Empire had declared extinct or completely subjugated revealed themselves to be very much alive and very angry. Each one struck at precisely coordinated moments, using weapons and tactics specifically designed to counter Valthran technology. "This is Agent Youngman reporting from Imperial Fleet Base Zeta," came a transmission from deep inside Valthran territory. "The garrison commander has agreed to surrender in exchange for clemency. They're transmitting their shield frequencies and weapon codes now." "Agent Soyon here. Logistics Command Delta," came another report. "The supply depot network is now under our control. All Imperial fleets are being systematically starved of ammunition and replacement parts." Admiral Korvex stared at his tactical displays as red warning icons spread across the galaxy like an infection. Every Imperial installation was either under attack, compromised from within, or cut off from support. The Empire that had seemed invincible days earlier was collapsing with shocking speed. "Sir," his communications officer called out, "we're receiving surrender requests from garrison commanders on 12 worlds. They're asking for terms." "Surrender?" Korvex repeated in disbelief. "Imperial forces don't surrender. They do when they're facing certain death," Admiral Heejin replied from Earth. "Your soldiers aren't stupid. They can see what's happening across the galaxy. Would you rather they die for an empire that sent them to conquer civilians, or live to help rebuild what you destroyed?" Emperor Valthek's golden scales had turned almost gray with shock. "What are your terms?" "Complete withdrawal from all conquered worlds. Release of all enslaved populations. Surrender of all weapons of mass destruction. War crimes trials for those responsible for genocide. And if we refuse," Captain Minselk answered from his Phoenix Fleet command ship, which had been destroyed and reborn 3 times during the battle, and was now stronger than any vessel in the Imperial fleet. Emperor Valthek stared at the tactical displays showing the collapse of his empire with a mixture of rage and disbelief. 17 star systems falling simultaneously. Species he had believed extinct rising from their graves. Worlds that had been conquered for centuries suddenly free and armed with impossible technology. "This cannot be allowed to continue," he declared, his voice echoing through the command bridge of the Dominator. "If we cannot rule the galaxy, we will ensure no one else can either." Admiral Korvex felt a chill run through his scales. He recognized that tone in his Emperor's voice. It was the same one Valthek had used before ordering the complete destruction of worlds that had refused to surrender quickly enough. "Your Excellence," Korvex said carefully, "perhaps we should consider negotiating terms. The humans have demonstrated capabilities we did not anticipate." "Negotiate?" Valthek's laugh was sharp and bitter. "With primitives who dare to challenge the natural order? No. We will show them why the Empire has ruled for millennia. Activate the World Ender." Across the Valthran fleet, a shudder of fear passed through the crews. The World Ender was the Empire's ultimate weapon, a device capable of cracking planets in half. It had been used only twice in Imperial history, both times as demonstrations to civilizations that had resisted too long. The threat of planetary destruction had always been enough to break any species' will to fight. The massive weapon emerged from the belly of the Dominator like a metal cancer. Energy conduits snaked across its surface as it began to charge. The power requirements were enormous, drawing energy from the flagship's main reactor and 3 escort vessels. "Target Earth's moon," Valthek ordered. "Once they see their satellite destroyed, they will understand the futility of resistance." Dr. Ji-Young watched the alien weapon charging from her position on Luna Station. Around her, the hidden command center that had been built into the moon's core hummed with activity. For 200 years, humanity had been preparing for this. "Exact moment? World Ender charging detected," she reported calmly to Admiral Heejin on Earth. "Estimated time to full power. 14 minutes. "More than enough time," Heejin replied. "Begin Luna Protocol." What the Valthran saw as a simple mining station suddenly revealed its true nature. The moon's surface split apart along carefully engineered fault lines. Massive sections of lunar rock moved aside on hidden mechanical systems. Beneath the disguised surface lay humanity's greatest defensive achievement: Luna had been converted into the largest railgun ever constructed. The moon's entire mass had been restructured around a magnetic acceleration system that stretched from pole to pole. The weapon was powered by fusion reactors buried so deep in the lunar core that no sensor could detect them. Interesting design, Dr. Ji Young noted as she studied the world ender through telescopic arrays. But they made the same mistake most species make. They assume bigger is always better. The railgun's projectile was deceptively simple. A tungsten rod barely 2 meters long, enhanced with human-developed gravity manipulators that could alter its effective mass at will. It would accelerate to a significant fraction of light speed before reaching its target. World ender at 60% charge, reported the tactical officer. Luna gun at 90%, Dr. Ji Young responded. Targeting solution locked. When the moon fired, there was no visible beam or dramatic flash of light. The projectile was too small and moving too fast for human eyes to track. But the Vilethron sensors registered its approach with growing alarm. Incoming projectile, the tactical officer announced, his voice cracking with sudden panic. Impact in 3 seconds. Raise shields, Admiral Korvex ordered. All power to defensive systems. The World Ender's protective barriers, designed to withstand the combined firepower of entire fleets, meant nothing against humanity's attack. The tungsten rod passed through the energy shields as if they were made of air. The weapon's armor, forged from the strongest materials in the galaxy, might as well have been paper. The projectile struck the World Ender dead center and continued through it without slowing. The weapon that had destroyed worlds simply ceased to exist, vaporized by kinetic energy that turned matter back into its component atoms. The explosion that followed lit up space like a newborn star. Impossible, whispered Emperor Valthek, staring at the empty space where his ultimate weapon had been moments before. Nothing can penetrate a World Ender's defenses. Your defenses were designed to stop energy weapons and conventional explosives, Dr. Ji Young explained, her voice reaching them through their communication systems. This was neither. Simple kinetic energy delivered with enough velocity to overcome any barrier you might deploy. Colonel Min Seok's Phoenix fleet used the chaos following the World Ender's destruction to press their attack. Ships that had been destroyed and reborn multiple times now fought with perfect knowledge of Vilethron capabilities. Each resurrection had taught them more about alien technology. Each rebirth had made them stronger. All Imperial vessels, this is Admiral Hyojin, came the transmission from Earth. You have just witnessed the destruction of your most powerful weapon by what your Emperor calls a primitive species. Consider your next actions carefully. But Valthek was beyond reason now. The loss of the World Ender had shattered his perception of Imperial invincibility. If humanity could destroy his ultimate weapon so easily, what hope did conventional forces have? All ships, activate planetary bombardment systems, he ordered, his voice shaking with rage. If we cannot rule this system, we will ensure nothing survives in it. Sir, Admiral Korvex protested, bombardment of an inhabited world without conquest will violate every treaty we've signed. The other galactic powers will unite against us. What other galactic powers? Valthek screamed. Look at your displays. Our empire is falling apart. There is nothing left to preserve. The remaining Vilethron ships began to charge their bombardment weapons. Plasma cannons designed to burn continents. Graviton bombs capable of reshaping planetary surfaces. Atmospheric igniters that could turn breathable air into a firestorm. They never got the chance to fire. Agent Kyung-hee, still in the Emperor's personal quarters, activated the quantum virus she had been carrying for 8 years. The malicious code spread through the Vilethron fleet's central command network faster than their security systems could respond. Every ship simultaneously lost navigation, weapons control, and life support. Hull breach on Deck 7, came panicked. Reports from across the alien fleet. Environmental systems failing, artificial gravity offline. The virus was a masterpiece of human engineering, designed specifically to exploit vulnerabilities in Velthran computer systems. It didn't just disable their technology, it turned it against them. Airlocks opened to vacuum. Navigation systems gave false readings. Weapon systems locked onto their own ships. "This is Captain Sunho to all Liberation Fleet elements," came a transmission from across the galaxy. "Imperial forces at Corvani Prime have lost all operational capability. We're boarding their vessels now." "Captain Haiwan reporting from Deltharic space," came another voice. "The garrison fleet is dead in the water. Their crews are abandoning ship." Across 17 star systems, the same scene played out. Valthron ships that had terrorized the galaxy for centuries found themselves helpless as their own technology betrayed them. Human agents who had spent decades infiltrating alien society activated viruses, sabotage devices, and hidden weapons simultaneously. Emperor Valthek stood alone on his flagship's bridge as his crew struggled to restore basic life support. Emergency lighting cast everything in a hellish red glow. The air recycling systems groaned and wheezed as they fought against the viral infection in their control systems. "You were warned," came Admiral Hiejin's voice through the dying communication system. "Captain Jinwoo told you to stay away. You chose to ignore that warning." "How?" Valthek asked, his voice barely a whisper. "How did primitives defeat the greatest empire in galactic history?" "We're not primitives," Admiral Hiejin replied. "We're a species that spent 200 years preparing for this moment. Every battle you fought taught us your tactics. Every world you conquered showed us your methods. Every atrocity you committed gave us motivation to become better than you could ever imagine." Through the flagship's failing sensors, Valthek could see human ships moving through his disabled fleet, but they weren't firing on the helpless vessels. Instead, they were deploying rescue pods and medical teams. Even now, even after everything, the humans were trying to save Velthran lives. "Why?" he asked. "Why save us? We came here to destroy you." "Because unlike you," Captain Minsok answered from his command ship, "we believe that life has value, even the life of our enemies." Dr. Taehyun's voice joined the transmission from his science station. "Your empire was built on the belief that strength gives you the right to dominate others. We built our defense on the belief that strength should be used to protect those who cannot protect themselves." The irony was not lost on the emperor. His empire, built on conquest and domination, was being defeated by a species that valued life above victory. His ultimate weapons had been countered by opponents who sought to preserve rather than destroy. "What happens now?" Admiral Korvex asked. His own voice carried over the emergency communication systems. 6 months after the fall of the Valthran Empire, the galaxy was a very different place. Where once 17 star systems had groaned under imperial oppression, now free worlds celebrated their liberation with lights visible from space. The crystalline cities of Corvani Prime grew skyward again, their musical harmonies echoing across continents that had been silent for 3 centuries. Admiral Jinwoo stood on the observation deck of the Terran Federation ship New Dawn, watching, as Corvani architects worked alongside human engineers to rebuild what had been lost. The crystal beings moved with fluid grace, their bodies refracting sunlight into rainbow patterns as they shaped their cities from the living rock. "It's beautiful," said Resonance Leader Keel, her voice creating harmonics that made the air itself seem to sing. "For so long, we believed our songs were silenced forever. Now they rise again, stronger for having been nearly lost." The Corvani had been among the first species contacted by human scouts centuries ago, though neither civilization had known it at the time. Hidden human observation posts had watched the Empire's brutal conquest and carefully preserved recordings of Corvani culture, language, and technology. When liberation came, humanity could offer more than just freedom. They could help restore what had been taken. "The resonance chambers in Sector 7 are complete," reported Dr. Taehyun from his mobile laboratory. "Your people can begin the deep harmonization sequences whenever you're ready." Kyle's crystalline form brightened with joy. You preserved even the deepest songs, the ones we thought were lost when the Empire shattered our memory crystals? Every vibration was recorded, Dr. Taehyun confirmed. Your culture will be reborn exactly as it was if you choose. Or you can adapt it to include what you've learned during your time in hiding. Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out, on world after world. The Deltharans had not only reclaimed their ocean homeworlds, but had expanded to new systems, their bioships carrying water and life to previously barren planets. Their ability to terraform worlds in months rather than centuries made them invaluable partners in the galaxy's restoration. Captain Hywen watched from the bridge of her ship as Deltharic seedlings took root in the artificially created seas of a former Imperial mining world. The aquatic beings moved through the water like living poems, their actions guided by instincts that remembered what oceans should be like. The coral networks are establishing faster than projected, reported Tide. Singer Jisoo, her gills fluttering with excitement as she communicated through bioacoustic channels. Within a generation, this world will have ecosystems as complex as our ancestral seas. And the human settlements? Captain Hywan asked. Thriving. Your floating cities integrate perfectly with our reef structures. The children of both species swim together in the shallows. The cooperation between species had surprised everyone, even the humans who had planned for it. Former enemies worked side by side to repair the damage of centuries. Valthron defectors provided crucial intelligence about Imperial technology, while their engineering skills proved valuable in dismantling the infrastructure of oppression. Commander. Soman coordinated relief efforts from the new Galactic Defense Corps headquarters, a massive station built in the space between the former Imperial capital and Earth. The structure incorporated architectural elements from every liberated species, creating a symbol of unity that could be seen from light years away. Status report on the war crimes tribunals? She asked during the morning briefing. Emperor Valthek and his inner circle are cooperating fully, reported Captain Airy. They're providing information about hidden Imperial installations and trapped slave populations. Admiral Corvex has been particularly helpful in locating the missing Threxian colonies. The trials had been controversial among some human factions who wanted immediate justice for centuries of atrocities, but Admiral Hyegen had insisted on a different approach. The goal was not revenge, but restoration. Even former Imperial leaders could contribute to healing the damage they had caused. What about the rehabilitation programs? Commander Soman asked. Ahead of schedule, Dr. Taehyun reported. Former Imperial soldiers are proving eager to learn non-violent trades. The construction, crews building new Delthar are 60% former Valthron military. General Young-ho oversaw the most ambitious project of all, the restoration of the 17 dead worlds the Empire had used for pure resource extraction. Using terraforming technology that combined innovations from multiple species, these barren rocks were blooming with life again. The atmospheric processors on Dead World 7 are showing remarkable results, he announced during a briefing to the Galactic Council. Deltharic bioengineering combined with Corvani harmonic cultivation and human mechanical systems is creating ecosystems in record time. How long until the world is fully habitable? Asked Council Member Thrix, a former Imperial administrator who had defected early in the war. 18 months for basic colonization. 5 years for complex ecosystems. The Vorthak Collective has volunteered to provide the initial geological stabilization. Even species that had been thought extinct were contributing to the galaxy's rebirth. The Silicon Mines, artificial intelligences that had hidden in computer networks for centuries, emerged to offer their computational power for massive infrastructure projects. The Plasma Wraiths, energy beings that had survived in stellar coronas, helped redesign power systems to be more efficient and less environmentally damaging. Colonel Minseok commanded the Phoenix Fleet in its new role as Rapid Response and Exploration Force. The ships that had been designed to die and be reborn in battle now used those same capabilities to explore dangerous regions and rescue trapped populations. Unknown signal detected in the Andromeda vector, reported his communications officer during a routine patrol. Pattern suggests artificial origin. Another hidden colony? Minsock asked. Negative, sir. This is coming from outside our galaxy entirely. The discovery sent ripples of concern through the newly formed Galactic Federation. After centuries of internal conflict, the possibility of external threats had been largely ignored, but humanity's experience had taught the galaxy an important lesson. It was better to be prepared than surprised. Admiral Hyejin addressed the Galactic Council from Earth, her image broadcast to every world in the Federation. Behind her, displays showed the scope of the galaxy's transformation. Trade routes flourished between former enemies. Scientific cooperation had produced technological advances that dwarfed anything achieved under Imperial rule. Most importantly, no species lived in fear of conquest or enslavement. 6 months ago, this galaxy was ruled by an empire built on fear and domination, she said. Today, we stand as free worlds united by choice rather than force. We have proven that cooperation achieves more than conquest, that diversity creates strength rather than weakness. The signal from Andromeda continued to pulse in the background of her speech, a reminder that the galaxy's trials might not be over. But the Federation was no longer the collection of primitive, isolated species that the Empire had once dominated. If new threats emerge from the void between galaxies, Admiral Hyejin continued, they will find us ready, not because we seek war, but because we have learned that peace must sometimes be defended. Dr. Ji-Young's voice joined the transmission from Luna Station, where the great railgun had been converted into a deep space observatory. The signal appears to be a standard expansion probe from an aggressive civilization. We estimate their technology level as roughly equivalent to the Valthran Empire at its peak. Then they will learn what the Empire learned, said Captain Jinwoo from his position aboard the New Dawn. Some warnings should not be ignored. The response to the external signal was swift and unified. The Galactic Defense Corps, now comprising volunteers from every liberated species, began preparations for potential contact. Unlike the Empire's approach of immediate conquest, the Federation would offer the same choice they had given the Valthrons: peaceful coexistence or departure. Skatebais. The months passed. More details emerged about the external civilization. The Thek hegemony, as they called themselves, had consumed 3 smaller galaxies and was expanding toward the Milky Way. Their advanced scouts reported a galaxy rich in resources and apparently defended only by primitive local species. They had made the same mistake the Valthran Empire had made centuries earlier. When the first Thek probe entered Federation space, it was met not by a handful of crude vessels, but by a fleet representing every species in the galaxy. Corvani ships that sang with harmonic weapons, Deltharic biovessels that adapted to enemy fire in real time, human phoenix ships that grew stronger with each attack, Vorthak war machines that computed optimal battle strategies faster than enemy systems could respond. The probe's final transmission back to the Thek hegemony was brief and urgent. Cancel expansion plans. This galaxy is defended by forces beyond our understanding. Recommend immediate withdrawal. Admiral Hyejin's response to the Thek ultimatum was broadcast across both galaxies, carried by quantum transmissions that reached every inhabited world. Her message was simple and direct. This is the Terran Federation, speaking for the free worlds of this galaxy. We do not seek conflict, but we will not permit conquest. You have been warned. We suggest you listen.